Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1532 of our daily content grind. So today, I was in the mood to go back and look at a previous toy line that no one really talks about anymore, though the reason they don't talk about this one now is because the most recent attempt at this kind of flopped. It was kind of weird from the get-go, but we're going to talk about the original anniversary toy run for Beast Wars that happened in 2006. This coincided with the tail end of Transformers Cybertron, so you had a pretty good variety of toys available at the time between this universe, etc. Like, there was a lot of good stuff in 2006, let's be honest here. But that said, this this was a fun little package back in the day. So what you would get inside would be a very heavily painted deluxe class Beast Wars Transformer, the original mold and everything. You would get one piece of a Build-A-Figure. We'll talk about her in a bit. But you also got a CD that included a single episode of the show, and that episode always corresponded to the toy that you bought. So obviously Dinobot came with Code of Hero. Spoilers for anyone who bought this toy and never got to see the whole series. Waspinator came with Possession. You know, the one time Waspinator was the focus and it wasn't even Waspinator, it was Starscream. So things like that. They all had CDs that corresponded to them. Now, you were paying $15 instead of 10 like a standard deluxe was at the time, but as I said, you were getting a lot of these little extra tchotchkes in the box too. So you did get your money's worth, I felt. Like there was a lot in this box to get to have fun with. So let's go over. I'm going to show you the entirety of the line, as we usually do on these remembering videos. But in this case, we're going to start by showing you what they originally looked like before the repaint, at least for the deluxes. On the ultras, when we get there, it's going to be a lot more obvious. But we're going to start with the guy that we just were staring at for the last couple minutes, and we're going to look at Dinobot first. We know the original had this obsession with translucent plastic. I don't know why he has translucent plastic legs. Makes no sense to me. Also, raw chicken skin. You know, we know that very well at this point. Not the best looking. Like, aside from not even not even close to show accurate, but just not good looking in general, if we're going to be completely honest here. Now, we move over to the new Dinobot. Now we are looking very, very good. Now, it's still not accurate, especially the striping in beast mode. However, there is a definite effort to make this look as good as possible. The two tones of brown are both metallic and look really, really nice. That said, both shades of plastic in this toy are susceptible to gold plastic syndrome. I did a review of that toy once upon a time where everyone in the comment section freaked out because it didn't break on me, even though there were two colors of GPS in the same figure. If you've still got one, be very careful with it, please. And don't transform it anymore. It's officially a statue. Beyond that, we have interesting color choices. He doesn't have translucent plastic anymore, thank Primus, but he does have a lot of blue on him because that's his secondary color in the cartoon, but there isn't a lot of locations on the toy that they can apply the blue to him. Like, it's usually like in his midsection on the original cartoon. He doesn't have a midsection on this toy. It's covered by a velociraptor head. So they threw it in where they could. It's on the kneecaps, it's a little bit on the belly, it's on the eyes of the Velociraptor for some reason, and it's on the inside of the tail, which looks super dumb. And then there's the green tint to the bones. I'm glad they painted the bones on the leg, but why green? Why this like weird metallic mint green? I don't get that. I've never understood that choice. Still, way better looking. Give it that. If we move on to Rhinox here, the original toy is pretty simplistic looking. You don't have any paint around the head, for instance. For the most part, you know, colors are where they're supposed to be. A little bit more black going on than the show model had. And if we move on to the reissue, you can see that while the golds have improved, most of it was done with the shading on the Rhino, trying to get a lot more of the brown from the cartoon in there. It's still not quite right. It's still weirdly off. I do like the better shades of gold going on here. There's not a lot extra painted in the robot mode, but the head definitely does have some extra gold paint apps to kind of make that stand out. And even the inside of his mutant head gimmick is now gold for reasons. Reasons. I suspect there are reasons for this. So yeah, not the greatest of changes, and definitely still could have been way more show accurate than it was, but hey, was what it was at the time. We're going to look at Cheetor now. So here's the original Cheetor. This is the Blue Eye variant, but so you will notice things like the color here looks fine. Like Cheetor, as far as like show accuracy goes, came across better than a lot of the early Beast Wars toys. He's actually pretty close. I mean, maybe not in physical form, giant cheetah head sticking out of chest, but at the very least in color application, yeah, it seems to be correct. The 10th anniversary one is interesting. They went ham on the cheetah spots. Let me just go to show you, like they seem denser than they were in the previous toy. But that said, brighter shade of yellow, which might be more show accurate. I think it just depends on your TV settings at the time. The weird part about them, and I like the green to the eyes. The green eyes are good too. I like that better than the gold. The weird part to this one is the fact that the forearms are blue now, meaning that they made a change from the previous figure that makes him less accurate than the show model. And that part I do not understand. I do not understand that part of this design. Otherwise, it's a pretty simple deco change. A lot more areas are spotted, and that's basically it. That's basically all that he's got going on. Be a long time before we got a gut gun that's actually painted pink. Tarantulas. So this is one that I would really like a lot of changes to. Obviously, this was at a time when they thought everyone would be using their normal robot mode heads. So the mutant head on him really didn't get a whole lot of attention. It's just flat gray. It definitely looks like they originally wanted to use his normal robot head, which I think would have been way less interesting. And yeah, so that's the one they focused the paint on, which means this one really, really needed it. You also see a lot more gray in the legs, for instance, which just does not look tarantulas. Now, moving on to the new one. So much better. So much better. The mutant head is now the dominant head. It is fully painted. It's got all the details you expect from his cartoon model. Looks great. The gray has been swapped out for a tan color. Looks great. There's a little bit of extra deco across his body and design. Yeah, it's a very, very good upgrade all the way around. Looks so much better than the original. And to their credit, even though you weren't going to use the robot head on this Tarantulas, they did paint the eyes in. They did put an effort into actually making the head look correct. The fun part about this one for me was the fact that because of trademark issues, not only did they have to misspell his name, but they also had to add Predacon to the front of it, which made his packaging look hilarious. Let's see, what else we have? Okay, Waspinator. I think Waspinator gets one of the best upgrades in the entire run. I mean, he looks fine here in his original form, except for the gray. That gray completely kills it, doesn't it? Like it just doesn't work. Like, we know Waspinator is this like two-tone green. We know the bug head. Again, they thought they were using the normal robot head. And the normal robot head is okay, but all the tones of gray just kind of make him look generic. So, changed up. Way better. Colors are a lot richer. We've got green going down the midsection, which looks way better. Yeah, this is one of the best ones. Like, Waspinator came off really, really well here. Even his normal head, even the normal robot head on Waspinator, looks pretty freaking brilliant. Like, they fully painted it and everything, so that's still a viable gimmick. It would still look good if you wanted to do it. Yeah, finally, the universe loved Waspinator, at least in this one instance. And that's going to bring us to the oddball in the set, and this is Rat Trap. Of all ones to include, this is the only trans metal, and we're presuming it is because the original Rat Trap mold was completely out of it. We are aware that the recent 25th anniversary Beast Wars Rat Trap reissue, or just the Rat Trap reissue in general, I can't even remember if it's for the anniversary anymore. All I know is that toy's been around forever at this point. Point being, they did a whole new mold cast for those recent Beast Wars reissues, including the Rat Trap, which is probably why they tried to charge $25 for something that was $5 in 1996. Yeah, maybe don't do that, Hasbro. But the point is, because that toy was not available, or just because they didn't want to finagle the size classes anymore, we got the deluxe Transmetal Rat Trap, which looks pretty good in its upgrade form too. They've ditched that tan color to his robot mode, so it has a more show accurate silver. Like the chrome on mine, I do think holds up better than the original, though it is 10 years younger. But overall, yeah, I think this was a really nice upgrade. To be fair, it really is just a plastic change. You know, at this point in the toys, they were trying to be a lot more attentive to show accurate, so the paint job for the most part is there, you know, and the show was trying to emulate the toys, so there's not a whole lot to do, but changing the plastic color just brings a life to this toy. So, all 6 of these deluxes came with a little piece of Transmutate, you know, a very infamous character in the show, which would allow you to actually assemble one of your own. This is funny for a few reasons. Number one, she's crazy expensive now. Like, if you have a complete one, congratulations. But also, don't let your complete one stand up too long without support, because the plastic on these parts were extremely soft. So a lot of them are bent and can't stand up anymore. Mine can. They also tried to work a few like gimmicks into it because they wanted to make an actual toy out of it. Like they're trying to emulate the screaming Sonic effect, either as a missile firing gimmick or a static effect, which today sounds like both would be pretty easy, but in 2006, it was beyond them. So whatever. The nice thing here is that Transformers actually did a Build-A-Figure. Prior to this, the only experience they did with Build-A-Figure was with the Heroes of Cybertron line, those little tiny PVC figures that they brought over from Japan. That was it. That was it. And really, they only did Build-A-Figure for that because it was the only way to get the bigger ones like Fortress Maximus out. So, yeah, this is a very rare thing for Transformers. I think I can count in like one hand how many times we've had a Build-A-Figure, with Mandroid and McAdam being the other two I can think of, you know, aside from the Heroes of Cybertrons. So yeah, this holds a pretty big distinction as like the only accurate Transmutate you can get, and it's a very hard one to get, and it might not survive very well because it's not very well made. Great. So, following the success of that, we had one more wave of deluxes, and these were not reissues, weirdly enough, but they were Beast Wars originals. These were co-developed to be part of the Cybertron line. If you heard it from Hasbro at the time, they swore up and down that these were designed for the Cybertron line first, and I can believe that based on if Beast Wars 10th did not perform, they could just release them as Cybertron toys and call it a day, but since the toy line performed well, you actually did get to have a run of them as part of the anniversary line. To their credit, they're not bad. Like, this is a neat little Megatron. Yeah, they changed up a lot, but it works the transformation into a deluxe class, so it makes a great desktop variation of the toy. And then you have the Primal, which had a surfboard for some reason. Oh, I know he surfs as Transmetal Optimus Primal. He was only around that when that body only lasted like 11 episodes. Like, it's his shortest run body, but everyone remembers the surfboard monkey, so he gets surfboard. The surfboard's also where they crammed his gimmick in, by the way. This was always silly to me. This was always a silly idea to me. Now, with those, you did not get CDs, nor did you get Build-A-Figure parts, because, like I said, this feels like something they tacked on to the end, because they did well enough for Toys R Us, the exclusive retailer, Beast Wars 10th, to order one more run of them, so we got these repaints from Cybertron instead. What you got were these little figurines of the Maximal and Predacon ships, the Axelon and the Darkseid. Too small to be of any real use unless you had a planet Earth to float them around and pretend you're about to crash. You would also get a mini-comic version of Beast Wars The Gathering Issue 1, which is a great way to sneak a little bit of cross-promotion in there as well. So yeah, that was basically the run. Now, there was one more 2-pack that they released, and this was a retool of the Ultra Class toys that they had done. But for that explanation, we have to go to the Takara version, because they basically just brought the Takara version over to America. Keep in mind, Beast Wars in Japan came out in 1997, so they didn't celebrate on 2006, but they did release this ahead of the TJOmega line, which would be their anniversary Beast Wars line with accurate repaints, etc. This one got out first, though. This was Beast Wars Reborn, with the Ultra Class Optimus Primal and Megatron in retooled, repainted forms, and these are gorgeous. So you have the Optimus Primal, where both the robot mode head, the robot mode chest, and thus the beast mode face are all retooled to look a lot more show accurate. And then there is the paint job. You know, you've ditched the black for the metallic, gunmetal gray. You've touched up the details a lot. The chest is now solid, so it can be painted. Brilliant job doing this. And it retains all the gimmicks of the original toy, with the exception of the mutant head, because we don't need Optimus Primal whipping out a Batman cowl out of nowhere. The point is, this was an exceptionally good repaint, an exceptionally good retool, and a very good anniversary figure. And it came with an equally good Megatron. Now, only one head retooled, because only one head needed to be retooled, but so much paint and so much recoloring went into making this as screen accurate as they could at the time. I do think they went a little bit heavy on the green and beast mode, but you know what? I'll take it for what it is. It's still a really good repaint, and it's a really good new head sculpt. Now, the American version did have a misassembly for some people, where a piece was left out of the waist, which meant Megatron's waist became free spinning instead of having friction. But beyond that, the American version was identical to the Japanese version, with the exception of the included bonuses. And in the Japanese version, that was this disc. They actually gave you a CD-ROM that was designed like the Golden Disc, which is great. On it was a whole bunch of Transformers info that we hadn't seen at the time, like design art for what eventually became the Beast Wars cast, including this look at Cheetor when the character was originally designed to be Prowl, because this was a continuation of G1, and he was going to be a wolf. Lots of photos like that, but you also had some other pre-production stuff. You had more sketches. You had promotional art for upcoming Beast Wars releases in Japan. Lots of stuff crammed into that little CD. I think it was just cool having a CD that actually just looked like the disc. The only question mark to this entire thing is, well, it's a very short line. Considering how many characters from the show got left off, just kind of wondering what exactly happened here. Now, when it comes to like Rat Trap, we do know that the mold was not serviceable by this point. They did use it a lot between America and Japan. You have to include the BotCon run as well. I don't know if that's true of Pterosaur as well, but we do know Pterosaur was eventually used during Age of Extinction, and then obviously the reissue that was more recent. So, you know, they potentially could have been a 2-pack, but apparently one or the other molds just weren't viable anymore. So I guess that we accept that answer and move on. But that does leave out like the likes of Quick Strike and Silverbolt and Black Arachnia. So it definitely felt like if they really wanted to, they could have gotten another wave of these out. It's just an odd thing that, they would do a Beast Wars anniversary reissue line and then leave out so many. They also didn't dive into any of the other size classes. So no reissue of Optimal Optimus, certainly no Tiger Hawk or Depth Charge. Didn't even get into Ultras. Or they didn't even get into like Megas like Scorponok. So unfortunately, that's about all that the line had, even though, yeah, at the time, it was kind of exciting to get all of these old toys and then get them in like these really cool new paint jobs. For me, that originally skipped Beast Wars because, Truck Not Monkey, which I got over, thank you, it was a great way of actually getting a hold of these toys that I skipped out on the first time. It was really the perfect, demographic, because now we had so many fans that were brought back into Transformers because of the Unicron trilogy and bringing the vehicles and the Autobots and Decepticons back. It was a perfect time to go, hey, you skipped these, didn't you? Give them a shot. I'm glad I did. I still have most of my original Beast Wars. Most of my vintage Beast Wars collection are actually these. So that's been my look back at a little bit of memory, as we prepare for the 30th anniversary of Beast Wars next year. If that sentence made your back hurt, I apologize. But we'll see what they have in store then. If we get reissues, hopefully not. But we'll see. Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.